Hello and welcome. I'm your host Shehzad Raza. Yesterday, Apex Committee on the National Action Plan, presided over by the Prime Minister of Pakistan, decided to take decisive action against Fitna al-Khawarij. The meeting also decided to effectively deal with the threats emanating from eastern and western border of Pakistan, and also prepare and implement a national narrative against extremism and terrorism. We've been facing these menaces for such a long time, and time and again we've been successful against them, yet there is a lot to be done. Time and again we discuss this issue, but what exactly is to be done, and from here where are we going next? I mean, this is the new year, 2025, and as we know, the details shared by the government, that last year 2024 was a deadly year against these militants. More than 900 militants or members of Fitna al-Khawarij were sent to hell. But at the same time, 2024 was also very lethal for the security forces as well. And why? Because the American and international forces, they withdrew from Afghanistan abruptly, and excuse me, and the latest equipment and the arms, the militants got hold of them, and they got the power of precision, and with precision they are attacking our security forces and the soft targets in Pakistan. That's why the number of casualty we are facing is quite high. But as we say that we are a resilient nation, and thanks to our security forces, we have taken so many decisions, effective actions and operations, and hundreds and thousands of intelligence-based operations over the last 4 years, or since the National Action Plan was developed and later revised. So now, when the political leadership and the military leadership, they are on the same page, and the entire nation is asking for a decisive action, so this is the time that what we are going to take. And to discuss this further, we have in the studio Brigadier Masood Ahmad Khan. He's a senior defense analyst. Thank you so much, Brigadier sir, for joining us. And we have Dr. Tughral Yamin. He's a senior analyst and needs no introduction. Thank you so much, Dr. Saab, for joining us as well. And in a short while, we will have Jauhar Saleem, former Foreign Secretary of Pakistan, on the video link. Brigadier Saab, to you, when we say that time has come for a decisive action, how would you define a decisive action?
Decisive action is the day Afghan Taliban took over. That was on 15 August 2021, and we saw then this spike in the terrorist activities across Pakistan. And then certainly in 2020 the reduction in terrorist activities in Pakistan was 86%. With the takeover of Afghanistan by Afghan Taliban, so there was a sudden spike. So despite all these facts giving evidence of Afghan involvement in the providing the safe havens, weapons and equipment, facilitation, finances, logistics, and despite all the evidence given by the international community, the CENTCOM chief, the United Nations Analytical Support,
UNSC reports,
yes, all the reports. So they have confirmed the presence of Fitna al-Khawarij inside Afghanistan. So the Pakistani authorities, the government, they have exercised restraint for quite some time now, 3 years. So the conclusion now we can draw, the Afghan Taliban, they have shown their inability, they are unwilling to act against these Fitna al-Khawarij, or they don't have the capacity. So that's why recently we have seen the strike which we carried out after that Makin attack. So that was a response was given to the message, so we can engage the Afghan Taliban diplomatically. But at the same time, if you cross the red line, if you come into Pakistan using Afghan soil, then we will respond, and so we will continue to do so.
But sir, one question: there is a marked difference between if you are unwilling to take the action or you are unable to take the action. So is it a mix of things with the Taliban, or they are not really incapable?
One is they are unwilling, and they have inability, and second, they have the connivance.
Okay.
So the infiltration and recent attack which were carried out on 28 December
but
night.
Why these connivance? At one point, when they are asking Pakistan or begging Pakistan and other countries to get to recognize them, but on the other hand, they are letting these militant forces to strike against us.
Very unfortunate. This is why Chief of Army Staff says they are ungrateful. Despite we have been fighting their war right from 1979 when Russians they invaded in Afghanistan, it was because of Pakistan. They were succeeding, we were succeeded. The Americans, the Middle Eastern countries, we supported Afghans in basically then subsequently which led to the.
All right. So, Dr. Saab, so how can you deal with an ungrateful neighbor?
I think there's no ungratefulness or gratefulness in foreign policy. Every country has its own self-interest. The Afghan Taliban have their own interests, we have their own interests. And very sadly, these two interests, national interests, are not aligning with each other. So the Afghans think that by letting these people come into Pakistan will serve their interests, they will continue to help them. Or as my friend over here said, that perhaps they don't have.
If you draw a cost-benefit analysis, so Taliban regime, is it better for them to have a good relationship with Pakistan, or let these militant forces, have a free run in Afghanistan? Obviously, the country like Pakistan would be far more beneficial to them in terms of recognizing and fighting their case before the international community, as we have done many times in the past.
I think the Afghan Taliban government or the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, perhaps they cannot control the Taliban. The Taliban, the Fitna al-Khawarij who keeps attacking Pakistan, they are not in their control. And when Pakistan retaliates, instead of them controlling people on their territory, they attack us. They have been attacking us across the international border. It has happened at several places. They have launched probing attacks. We have given them befitting replies. But they are getting a better deal from many other countries. For example, Russia is about to recognize them. They want them to be removed from the terrorist list. UAE is willing to perhaps give them some kind of recognition. Indians would also like to have some good relations with them. So perhaps the Afghans, in their mistaken belief that Pakistan is perhaps at this moment in time weak economically, so they are also not taking us seriously.
No, but if they think that we are economically weak, then why are they asking us time and again to have this uncontrolled flow of trade at the international border, which they really don't recognize? Before you answer the question, let me introduce Jauhar Saleem. He's a former Foreign Secretary and President of IRS. He's joining us on the phone line. Thank you very much, Jauhar Saleem Saab, for joining us. Dr. Saab, you finish your sentence.
Okay, the question that you asked was, why are they ungrateful? The Afghans have a very interesting inferiority complex. They have been rulers of this part of India. They have been rulers of India, and they have always somehow or the other looked down upon people on our side, not realizing that they have always benefited. Over the centuries, Afghan rulers who have been kicked out of Kabul have come and sought refuge in India, even with the British. They had
invaded India.
They had invaded India, and when they had been kicked out of their own country, they have come and sought refuge here. Afghan kings, former kings. And in Pakistan we have many Afghans, Pakistanis, but with Afghan background. So these people think that it is their natural right to hold us hostage. They think perhaps mistakenly that they will continue to help them. But there is a limit to everything. I think Pakistan's national interest comes first, and
I have a few more questions. I have a few more questions, but let me let Jauhar Saleem in here. Jauhar Saleem Saab, it's a slippery slope in terms of foreign policy when we deal with India and Afghanistan. We have two hostile neighbors, but Pakistan is a country, we believe in peace, the regional peace, and we always effort and strive to maintain peace in the region and globally, of course. But when our two borders are not secure, how vulnerable are we, or how can we deal with this threat in the light of the decision made by the Apex Committee yesterday? Jauhar Saleem Saab.
It's a very unfortunate situation because our neighbors do not realize that it would be in their own interest to support our endeavors for promoting stability, for countering terrorism, because terrorism is a common threat after all. India has been clamoring, and India has been propagating all around the world that they are victims of terrorism. And when it comes to actually working together with Pakistan for countering terrorism, they're nowhere to be seen. In fact, they have been implicated in even recently many instances where they promoted terrorism in many other countries, including Pakistan, and especially Pakistan. In Balochistan, we see signs of that. their involvement with a lot of organizations, the KP, we see how with TTP they have colluded in the past. We've seen their footprints in Afghanistan and so many different eras, and so many other instances as well. And Afghanistan, when we talk about our Western neighbors, it's very clear that TTP is present there. They have been provided safe havens. In fact, there's a whole lot of support that they're getting there from the regime presently. And that is even when Afghanistan itself has been a victim of terrorism. ISIS there or ISKP, they've recently had one of the ministers, deputy minister, assassinated in a terrorist attack. There have been so many other attacks, and there are so many terrorist groups in Afghanistan which are emerging, which are which are inimical to the government there, to the regime there. So I think it's.
So one question. Sorry to interrupt. Obviously, these threats of extremism and terrorism, we are dealing these threats within Pakistan. But since they also involve our two neighbors, India and Afghanistan, and terrorism should not be used to further the political agenda. But unfortunately, these two countries are using militancy or the proxies as to further their political agenda against Pakistan. So in terms of diplomacy, or as a diplomat, how you think that can we deal with these threats while talking to our two neighbors, or you think that only force is the only option to deal with that?
Look, in diplomacy, we say diplomacy is the first line of defense of a country. So diplomatic engagement is always important. With Afghanistan as well, there's no substitute to it. Continued engagement. That is there. With India as well, we've had engagement on many issues. Unfortunately, after the 5th August 2019 legal action.
But sir, how can diplomacy take an effective steps or role when you know and have irrefutable evidence that your neighbors are involved in weakening your economy, and supporting those militants against you?
Look, Rafi, there are multiple tools available, right? Diplomacy is one of the very important tools. Then, of course, you can have the tools of the kinetic operations. That is what you refer to as force. But that should be the last option. Sometimes you use these different options in conjunction with each other. Like this kinetic action option is there. Then the economic option is there because, for instance, Afghanistan is very dependent on Pakistan in terms of transit trade. Its economy is very much linked to Pakistan. Then in terms of the refugees in Pakistan, that is another leverage. The economic leverage is there, the diplomatic leverage, because they're still wanting to be recognized diplomatically by Pakistan, which we haven't yet. Then again, there's the collective approach in diplomacy. What we call the regional approach is there, the multilateral approach is there. All these countries that you have named in the previous panelists mentioned, which are engaging with Afghanistan, when Pakistan would have a sort of diplomatic engagement with those countries on this particular issue, and a common approach would be adopted by all the countries, whether it's Russia and Iran and countries like UAE and China and all the countries, because Afghanistan, of course, in today's world, you can't really live in.
Point well taken, sir. Point well taken. Thank you so much, Jauhar Saleem, former Foreign Secretary of Pakistan. He was with us and giving his point of view. Brigadier Saab, the thing is, when we do have irrefutable evidence against India and Afghanistan that they are providing all sort of backing and support to those groups who are murdering our people, you think that diplomacy still can take a lead role?
Certainly. As Jauhar Saleem was saying, this is one of the leverage which we have, that is use of diplomacy and dialogue. At international level, Pakistan has been supporting the Afghanistan, and we have tried to even unfreeze those frozen assets by the Americans. So we took a lead in that direction too. And at the same time, we are also asking the international community and other organizations for humanitarian and other relief to the Afghans. But at the same time, Diplomacy, yes, we will like to have diplomacy with the Afghan Taliban, but not at the cost of the terror attack which are emanating from Afghanistan. So, the most probably the regional countries which we have seen recently, the Chinese, they have been very active, the Russians, and after more recently, after that General Assembly, the United Nations General Assembly Summit, there was a sideline, there was a meeting of 4 countries, Pakistan, Iran, China and Russia, and where they endorse the Pakistan stance of the terror outfits operating from Afghanistan, and they also name Fitna al-Kharij, also the BROS, the presence of BLA and the Majid Brigade operating. And another was the continuity of United Nations Analytical Support and Sanction Monitoring Team, which was endorsed by China and Russia. So that certifies the presence of the international terror groups inside Afghanistan, which also violates the Doha Accord, which was signed in 2020.
That is fine, but don't you think that we don't need these certificates or endorsement by these important capitals or the United Nations Security Councils that these militants, they are operating from Afghanistan, or they have the backing or the financial support from RAW and other such intelligence agencies? We want some practical steps to be done so that we can save our people from these barbarians.
So, as we said, the national interest takes precedence over the all other
morality and everything.
Yes, everything. So certainly it is the Indians, they are acting as the policemen for the United States in the region.
But how can you justify that killing innocent Pakistanis could be in the national interest of India or Afghanistan? I mean, of course, they are the people and they claim to be, the largest democracy in the world.
But that is very unfortunate, but that is the reality, and they have been doing it for the...
What's your take on this, Dr. Saab?
Unfortunately, there is no morality in international relations. What is happening in Gaza is a testimonial that children are being killed, women are being killed, old people are being killed, and there's no let up. The entire world knows.
So we should deal or look all these challenges and threat through the prism of realpolitik. That's it.
Absolutely. Nobody is going to come for your support. You have to fight your own battles, and that has always been the case. If you're a strong nation, people will help you. If you're a weak nation, people will let you die your own death. They will be happy to abandon you. So one has to stand up and tell the Afghans or whoever are our enemies that hey there, we are not going to take this nonsense. We can strike back, and we can take steps which can hurt you, which can pinch you.
But since 2001, when it all started, or prominently started, we have come a long way. More than 2 decades passed, and now when Prime Minister stated yesterday that time has come to take a decisive action against the Fitna al-Khawarij, including the fostering of a positive national narrative to educate the nation that these are the threats, and we should be really prepared to have a final battle against them. So what are those final and decisive actions you think that he was talking about?
Shehzad Saab, that's a very good question. I think the final and decisive action is that these people ought to be eliminated. We have unfortunately undertaken a number of kinetic operations which have not been which have not been completed. They have been left midway, or at times you have,
or maybe it's a part of the ongoing strategy.
I don't think so. I don't think so. It has been a part of the ongoing strategy. Somehow we've been muddling around.
And when you say that these elements need to be eliminated, what do you mean by eliminated? Because in the past we also tried to convince them to let this militancy go and become a peaceful, law-abiding, accepting the constitution of Pakistan, the peaceful citizen of Pakistan.
Again, a very good question,
but we failed to convince them.
Again, a very good question, Shehzad Saab. Each conflict has a post-conflict stage. When the conflict ends, or when the conflict is about to end, you must make these. One is the DDR, very famous UN-recognized strategy in which you demobilize, deregulate, deweaponize these people, and then you make them part of the mainstream. Unfortunately, we have not been able to make schemes in which bulk of these people, the people who have laid down their arms, who have surrendered, who have said, okay, we are not going to fight you, to make them part of the mainstream. They have not been given the skills which can make them honorable citizens of this country.
We are going through all this hard labor, but let me ask you one question. For instance, if I am economically deprived, I have no job opportunity or anything, to support my family. So normally this argument and reason was given time and again because of the financial constraints and the crisis. These people, they were vulnerable to the forces of militancy, and the militant organization lured them in and later used them against their common citizens, their fellow citizens. But the question is, even if I am facing hardships economically or otherwise, would it allow me to take up the arms against the state of Pakistan or kill the innocent people? Morally, it's not allowed, or legally it's not allowed.
Hunger and poverty are very harsh things. If you are hungry and if you are poor and somebody is offering you money, you will rather accept that money than be a law-abiding citizen. Unfortunately, if you don't give these people skills to become to earn their own money, they will again relapse.
So it has nothing to do with the ideology or anything. It's all about the economics or the money making.
Absolutely. You see, there are various ways to tempt these people. You either tell them there is a paradise and there are huris to do over there, or you tell them that hey there, look, I'm going to recycle you. I'll make you into a honest, law-abiding citizens. I'll provide you skills with which you can earn money. I'll make you a tailor. I'll make you a cobbler. I'll make you a machinist. We have not done that. There have been isolated initiatives to re-indoctrinate some of them, but most of them, after having left their violent ways, have relapsed into.
But how Brigade Sahib, you should also comment on this. But Dr. Sahib, first you, how easy or difficult it is for a person to convert a person? For instance, for the last 2 years, he was using anti-aircraft gun or the Kalashnikov or all sorts of the modern gadgets in the warfare. And the very next year or 2 years after, we are offering him to come and work on the swing machine. So would that be possible for such a person?
It's very,
or no?
It's very difficult.
It is.
You see, it's very difficult. It cannot be switch on, switch off. You are a so-called Talib one day, and the other day you are a cobbler or you are a hairdresser or something.
That's the point of us.
It requires time. You need psychologists. You need to bring them out of the violent ideologies that they have been indoctrinated upon. You have to tell them that this is not right what you are doing. This is a very difficult thing. But again, I am telling you, unfortunately, as a state, we have not allocated enough resources. We have not allocated enough manpower to embark on this project. It's very easy as a soldier. It's very easy to eliminate these people, but as a statesman, as a policy maker, it is even more difficult to make them part of the mainstream.
But to rehabilitate them.
To rehabilitate them. If you won't do it, they will again become insurgents. They will again, after a while, when they find no suitable job for themselves and their children are dying of hunger or whatever, they will again revert to their bad old ways. So this is a very difficult thing, and our state should wake up to it. That's what I'm
all right, Brigadier Saab, but the time and again offers were given, although as Dr. Saab was saying, our efforts were not up to the mark. Fine. But again, you think these people are willing to come back to Pakistan, face the court of law, answer to the crimes they have committed, and become swear to become peaceful, law-abiding citizens of Pakistan? Because in the past, we have seen that they never honored their promises they made earlier.
Not at all. There is no possibility as such. And we have seen the talks which were carried out from 2018 to 2020. And that period, and subsequently there was a so-called ceasefire. So that time, which they seized that opportunity to regroup and expand.
Exactly.
And subsequently, as foreign ministers recently said, 40,000 plus families and the terrorists, they enter into Pakistan and resettle. So the resettlement policy basically
it backfired, you think?
Certainly it is backfired.
Okay.
Yes. So it is very difficult, and moreover, recently there is a viral clip of Mufti Taqi Usmani, where he says he interacted with Fitna al-Kharij commander, which they denied the presence of the terrorist commanders inside Afghanistan. And look at their demand. They want that you should reverse the merger of erstwhile FATA then Islamization according to their version of Islam, release all the terrorists, and they should be allowed inside Pakistan, in the especially as while FATA, with their weapons. So that is not possible. They want to have a state within state, like the Afghan Taliban. They have now, after taking over Afghanistan, they want to have as while FATA as a sort of as a country, especially for them. So they want to basically dictate
their own brand of Sharia. They want to implement over there,
so
and in the past they tried so many times.
That is not acceptable. The only thing, they can surrender and they can come under the constitution of Pakistan. The only thing government of Pakistan then can consider their requests and demands.
But again, if they were involved in any crime inside Pakistan, they must face the court of law first.
Exactly.
I mean, if they are asking to have a general amnesty by the state of Pakistan, despite the fact they were involved in so many heinous crimes, then how can it work? How would you justify this decision before the families of the martyrs? The thousands of martyrs sacrificed their lives in the line of duty.
That is very unfortunate part of it. When we talk of the judiciary in the past, those who were responsible for the Marriott bombing, they were released by the court, and they subsequently joined back the terrorist
maybe because of the lack of evidence.
No, it was tried by the military courts. And similarly, in Peshawar, 200 hardcore criminal terrorists, they were punished and convicted by the military courts. They were given bail, and subsequently they joined. So that is also the unfortunate part of this our judicial system. So unfortunately, I don't think so, that they can come and join the mainstream. As you say, that unless they must face the court of law for their crimes, those barbaric attacks which they carried out, mainly when we talk of APS Peshawar, and where 147 children and the school staff, they were martyred. So it was done by them. So even other attacks across Pakistan. So they can be accommodated if they are taken to
where?
To the
court of
gallows.
To the gallows. Okay, fine. But Dr. Saab, of course, any state, as you mentioned earlier, that in the politics or in the statescraft, I mean, there is no sort of morality involved. I mean, we have seen what type of behavior shown by our two neighbors. But when we dealing, the government of Pakistan, the state of Pakistan dealing with these members of Fitna al-Khawarij, so should we given them only two options? Either you come back unconditionally, face the court of law, answer to your crimes, and if you are given relief by the courts, fair enough, or face the wrath of our military forces, security forces, or no?
There are different things that you are talking about. You see, one is getting them back. They will not come back if you threaten them, and they'll continue to fight against you. There's another way in which you can offer them escape routes. Okay, I'm not saying that resettle them in the way they had been resettled in the past. They must be properly.
But escape routes from where and to where?
Escape from the hell that they are imprisoned in right now. You see, they are being pressurized to undertake very bad things against Pakistani citizens.
And at the behest of someone else?
At the behest of the Afghan government, at the behest of Indian government, at the behest of any country which is against Pakistan, and many countries are against Pakistan. These are not the two only countries. What I'm saying is that if you allow them a chance to come back, and you see there are two things.
No, sir, but only thing the state.
Let me finish.
Sir.
There are two things. One are the commanders, you see, and the others are the foot soldiers. And the foot soldiers will do what the commanders will tell them to do.
Sure.
What you have to do is to wean away the large majority of them who are probably doing it not because of ideological reasons, but because they have been told that this is the best way to live your life.
The only thing state can offer, according to my estimation, and I could be wrong and I want your guidance in this, is to ensure them a fair trial. If they come back, they would be given a chance and defend themselves, and if they convince the court of law, of course, they can be the free citizen of Pakistan.
They will not come back in this way. This is my thinking. So then fight with them. What else can you do?
No, but how can state give them assurance of a general amnesty or the personal freedom in case they were involved in some type of very serious crimes against the people?
After the conquest of Makkah, what did the Holy Prophet say to everybody, and even to Hinda, who had chewed the organ of his most beloved uncle. So see, you have to be very careful. They are your people. Don't settle them in a stupid way. Please screen them. Find out who are the ones who can create problems for you. Don't grant them general amnesty. But if you say, come here and I'll try you in the court of law, you know what kind of judicial system we have. The cases keep on going on for ages, and convictions come very late. So nobody is going to come back in that way. So one has to think about these things, how you can get these people back, if you want these people back. If you don't want these people back, okay, say we don't want you back at any cost, we will fight you and we will kill you.
So is it easy or difficult to make this distinction between the masterminds and the planners and the foot soldiers, and offer them what Dr. Saab just mentioned?
Certainly the agencies, they have their data, they have the information, those involved in.
So it is very much possible.
It is very much possible. As I was reading in an article that our intelligence agencies, they have the ingress and they have the penetration.
No, but sir, you all in statecraft, you take the decision on the basis of empirical evidence you already have.
Yes,
so
certainly.
you were earlier response to my earlier questions, you were mentioning that they were given the chance to come and settle or rehabilitate inside Pakistan, but they used that opportunity to again strengthen themselves and launch another action against the people and the state.
That is very unfortunate. We were then on a weaker wicket. So we allowed them, we facilitated them.
And where do we stand right now?
No, the Chief of Army Staff is vocal as far as the terrorism is concerned. He said the elimination across Pakistan, there will be no status quo will be entertained. A clear, comprehensive policy has been given, and the army and the government of Pakistan they are on the same page. And they said elimination. This is what the Prime Minister said yesterday at the Apex Committee, that the elimination of terrorism, the menace of the Fitna al-Kharij, not only in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, but the broths which they are operating in Balochistan, they will be taken to task. So there will be no mercy whatsoever as far as if they continue to attack Pakistan from Afghan soil. So Afghanis, certainly they will also get their share.
It is very important to have a perfect coordination and working relationship between the federating units, in a sense we are a federation. But unfortunately what we are seeing, or the images or the news reports coming out of Quram agency, so there is a lack of coordination probably on part of the provincial government. So you think that there should be a one solid policy, and any federating unit, any province, no matter if there is the government of a rival political party, at least on the question of terrorism and extremism, there should be no political dispute. But unfortunately we have seen it, and that is disturbing the entire country.
You are absolutely right, Shehzad Saab. What is happening is Quram has been given the shape of sectarian warfare between Sunnis and Shias, which is again very unfortunate. And this is not new. Quram, we know, is a mixed society. There are Shias, there are Sunnis, and they've been fighting with each other on wrong things for a very long time. They say that probably this is basically over land disputes over which they are fighting. Unfortunately, the provincial government has not taken any action on whatever was happening in their part of in their nook of the corner of the forest. Children are dying, they are not getting medicines, the roads are still not open, people are protesting. So this is an issue which needs to be taken up at the highest level, at the lowest level. It's a pity, it's a shame if somebody from my country is dying because he's not getting food,
for instance,
he's not getting
exactly
medicine.
Of course, you rightly pointed it out. But yesterday in the Apex Committee meeting, I mean, there was also the decision to again revive the plan of strengthening NACTA, this National Counter-Terrorism Authority, and the intelligence sharing and the gathering, and good coordination between among several intelligence agencies in Pakistan. But at the same time, why don't we have a special counter-terrorism force that could act anywhere in Pakistan? I mean, regardless of which province the threats is emanating from, because even after 2001, after 9/11, I mean, America, they constituted a completely separate body, the Homeland Security.
Homeland Security does not conduct operations.
That is fine, but the jurisdiction, I'm talking about the jurisdiction, even...
Your army can operate anywhere, nobody stops you. The Chief of Army Staff can operate anywhere. The second line forces, the Frontier Corps, the Frontier Constabulary can also act within their areas of responsibility, but nobody is stopping you.
Of course,
but the problem here is
once requested by the federal or the provincial government.
If you think that it's important, you will do it. Isn't it happening right now? Isn't the Chief of Army Staff saying, isn't that what the Prime Minister said in the Apex Committee, no mercy to militants or terrorists, and that
my point was, shouldn't there be a decisive or the final nod from the federal government? The federal government thinks that, I mean, such action must be taken in a particular part of the country. It should be done without the consent of the provincial government. I'm just saying.
Federal government has said that, and it's going to take place. You see, the provincial government or any can ask the army to come in aid of civil power. Here you want terrorists funded and supported by foreign forces to be eliminated. So the army can operate. It's a federal force. Who's stopping them? So you don't need special forces. The army has been blooded for over 20-30 years. They know how to undertake counterinsurgency operations, counter-terrorism operations. The Frontier Corps has been expanded, it has been equipped, it has been trained in a better manner.
That's true.
It's no longer...
No, but the purpose of asking this question was, I mean, in every province, situation is different as far as the terrorism is concerned. In KP, the situation is critical, of course, and once these devolution of power, so the provinces are responsible to uplift, you know, the situation in their province or to take care of the people, to start the economic programs. So, lot is to be expected from the provincial governments. Unfortunately, I mean, it's not happening as far as the KP government is concerned. So that's the question, as you earlier mentioned.
Shehzad, it's everybody's responsibility. The federal government's responsibility, the provincial government's responsibility. If somebody dies on the streets of Parachanar,
but if you're taking a large chunk from the National Finance Commission award, then it's your responsibility to do the uplift program and you know, give the people the opportunities you were mentioning earlier.
But you see, the Prime Minister said so in Apex Committee. So nobody can challenge the Prime Minister if he says that there should be decisive action. There will be decisive action, and no provincial government can stop him from saying that, okay, I'm going to send army, I'm going to send other forces. Even he can send police force from other areas to any province if he wants. So if the will is there.
So what does your finally, what does your experience say how this year is going to be as far as our fight against the terrorism and extremism is concerned? Very quickly, and then Brigadier Sir.
I think it's going to be very good. I think the will is there. The Prime Minister said so. The Chief Army Staff has said so. Our army is determined. I think they'll be able to surmount this challenge. They have been able to surmount many other challenges in the past also.
What do you say, sir?
So there is unwavering resolve as far as the government of Pakistan is concerned, the armed forces of Pakistan is concerned. So we have taken a step in 2024 and we killed 925 hardcore terrorists. So we have taken a step and we look forward to kill more in 2025.
If they're not willing to cooperate or become the law-abiding citizen or surrender themselves. Yes, thank you very much, Brigadier Masood Ahmad Khan, for joining us in the program. Dr. Tughral Yamin, thank you so much as well. Viewers, thank you so much for watching. Khuda Hafiz and goodbye.